Good evening. We're back for a short, quick, late night stream. I'm trying to get caught up on Advent of Code. Hello, Artwork Studios. How are you, man? Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Ryan? How's the good old lisp treating you these days? It's going well here, man. Yeah, I've got nothing to complain about. Anonymous live at this hour. Yes, we are live. I'm gonna try to see if I can't get caught up on Advent of Code. I'm today I should be done with part 2 or day A part 2. Day 8 part 2, but I'm currently only done with day 8 part 1, so I'm gonna try to get caught up. So we'll see what happens. It should be a pretty short one, probably an hour, maybe less. Um, we did solve part 1 today, this morning, and so now we just need to do part 2. So if I do part 2 tonight, then I'll be back on track for my 24-day pace, and everything will be hunky dory. Let's see. We're at day 8. We're part 2. Up over here. Let's see. Was it Control Shift Tab? No. Control Shift T. There you go. Hey, what's up, Oblivious? Good to see you again. Yeah, I am back. I see that you're still here. You're still awake, I guess. Yeah, good to see you again. We meet again on the YouTubes. I'm gonna see if I can't do part 2 real quick before I go to bed. I think actually it's gonna be pretty straightforward. Ryan, finding collinear lines that share endpoints is significantly, and sorting the points counterclockwise is significantly more difficult than I have anticipated. That sounds like some programmer shit that's like way over my head. That sounds very hard. Let's see, get, check out. We'll do feature day 8, part dose. I've been having a rough work block for many days now, but I'm pushing through again at least. Well, hey, I'm glad to hear it. I'm that sounded terrible. I'm sad to hear that you've had a rough work block, but I'm glad to hear that you're pushing through. So I think it sucks that you've had a shitty block of work, but I'm glad that you're working to get on the other side of it. Oh. I've got to uninstall the GitHub theme and reinstall it. Why that happens, I don't know. But it does happen. I never intended to get into vectors in this program, and the whiskey I just had is not doing me any favors. Oh man, whiskey and vectors sounds like a party. That's. I mean, I hope you don't take offense to it, but I mean, that's some nerdy shit right there, you know? How'd you spend your evening last night? Well, I got drunk and played with some vectors. Okay, so all my tests are passing, or they should be. As of this morning, they were. Uh-oh. It's taking a long time to run. There we go. All right, so everything's passing. That's wonderful. So I think part 2, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. My goal is to take about an hour or so and get part 2 of day 8 done, and then head to bed so that I can get up early and start day 9. So let's make sure I have part 2. Yep, I have part 2 there. Let's go ahead and stub out our test real quick. Let's copy this guy. Put that down here. We'll do test solve part 2 with example input, and I forget they gave us what we should expect. So we expect this value. What's that? And we need solve part 2, which is not going to need the number. And then I am just going to go to main.go. I'm going to do function solve part 2 like that. Just return 0. Oh, I finally added my custom GitHub Copilot command. Watch. If I type leader CS, I don't know if you guys can see it because it's at the very bottom of my screen. But now it runs this command called Silencio, which turns Copilot off. I don't know why I enjoy that. I enjoy it. And now let's run our tests again, or let's just run our test for day 8. This should fail. And we're back. No offense taken whatsoever. I'm also playing with 3n+1 and building a political polling website in my free time. I'm nerdy as hell. The political polling website sounds fun. Oblivious. From a long-term developer friend of mine, they have written most of their impactful and scalable code while inebriated. It's not pretty, but it works. And still in use. That's fun. That is fun, man. Alright, so let's restate the problem again. So we read this morning, but just so that we're going to read it again so I can remember what we're doing. The elves are right. They definitely don't have enough extension cables. You'll need to keep connecting junction boxes together until they're all in one large circuit. Continuing the above example, the first connection, which causes all of the junction boxes to form a single circuit, is between the junction boxes at 2, 1, blah, blah, blah. The elves need to know how far those junction boxes are from the wall so they can pick the right extension cables. Multiplying the x coordinates of those two junction boxes produces 25,272. Continue connecting the closest unconnected pairs of junction boxes together until they're all in the same circuit. What do you get if you multiply together the x coordinates of the last two junction boxes you need to connect? So, we come back here. We are basically going to take our solution from part 1 and we are just going to copy paste it, and we're just going to add a new condition because whoops, I always forget that deleting a line yanks it to the clipboard. Okay, so we do not want to limit. We want to get all possible connections, and we're going to iterate over them just like that. Only down here, instead of result being this, we actually don't need any of this. Yeah, we don't need any of this. Excuse me. And then I'm just going to declare a result variable here. And so what we're going to do is after we do all this work, we're going to have some sort of check here, some sort of check to break, at which case the current connection has the x values we need to multiply. I think that's where we want to do it. the question being, so how do I know that they've all been connected, right? Um, hmm. So I think I can just use the root or the very first box, and I can just check to see if that very first box is in my map, and if the root of that box You're using Go, right? Yeah, this is Go code. That's what I'm using for advent of code. That's really the only thing that's the only reason I learned it, and it's probably the only thing I'll use it for, at least for the foreseeable future. Because I mean, it's not that I have any issue with Go. It's just I still prefer working with what was I gonna say? I still prefer working with C sharp. You know. Does it have built-in sort functions? Yeah, it has a couple different things. It has a slices sort. Like I'm actually using that somewhere. And here. Yeah, so there's actually a slices.sort func, which is kind of similar to like JavaScript's ray.prototype.sort. So it actually it actually mutates the collection or the slice that you pass in. There's also a sort package that has some methods on it that I think you can use to do some stuff with that I haven't really explored too much. I've mostly used slices.sort and sorted. Sort does just your basic ascending order, and then sort func allows you to provide a compare function. There's probably a ton of built-in stuff that I don't know about, you know, having only been like 46 days into my Go journey, you know. But so far it's been good. I may pick it up and play with it next year then. Seems like an easy language to pick up coming from JavaScript. Yeah, I think if you're coming from I think if you're coming I think the hardest part about Go would just be static typing. You know? Like if you're coming from a language where there's not a lot of static typing, that's probably the biggest hurdle. But if you're familiar with static typing, I'm not sure about what Lisp's situation is, but if you know how to use types, you'll be fine. Yeah, if you know JavaScript, it'll feel comfy and honest. But thank God it's a simple type system. It is a simple type system. I mean, they do have generics now, which I guess is kind of a controversial thing, I guess, in Go, as I understand it, in the Go community. The fact that they added generics to the language, but I mean, generics are super powerful, especially if you're authoring. If you're authoring library code in a statically typed language, you're gonna want generics. Like I don't know how you would write really abstracted, high level, reusable code without having that available to you in a static language. Hey, Minister of Defense, good to see you. I didn't know you streamed at night. I don't normally stream at night, honestly. I fell behind on this whole advent of code thing, so I'm trying to catch up. And so I thought I would spend um, I basically thought I would spend part of the evening before bedtime trying to see if I can't do part two. Because if I get part two done tonight, then tomorrow I can start fresh on day 9 and I'll be back right on pace. Day 8 was just, I thought day 8 was really hard, personally. Uh, okay. I guess I'm gonna try to do. Let's see. I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to track number of number of sets equals the length of our boxes, and then every time we write to the circuit map, we'll deduct the number from the number of sets, and then we'll check to see if number of sets equals 1, then we should be able to say so basically every time we combine, right? Every time we can do a combination, and then we'll check to see if we are down to 1. And if we are down to 1, then we can actually we can do results equals yeah, actually I think what I might do is I might do some bizarre number as the default case, and then if we do reach this point, then we'll just return connection dot start times that. And let's see if this works. So my working thought is that we know we have this number of boxes, right? And so basically we know we're going to reach a point where we have to do this action, right? Because at some point all of the circuits or all of the junction boxes are going to be combined together. So we should hit over this piece of code how many ever times there are boxes, right? So whenever we hit that, whenever we've run over that piece of code enough times that there's only one more left, that last one is the last set, the last connection, the last 2 junction boxes that we had to put together. That's my thinking. It's kind of ugly, but I think it might work. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, now we just need to make sure it works on the on what am I saying? And we just need to make sure it works on the actual input, because this Advent of Code year for me has been a whole year of it works for the example and it doesn't work on the input. So we'll see if this works. I'll put that down here. Try again. Oh, also this error message is wrong. This should be solved part 2. Oh, I figured +1 for the last box to make sure the last box doesn't need to go elsewhere. Uh, no, I think the last one is that the last one would be, yeah, because once we decrement it to 0, well, we won't actually ever decrement it to 0 because of the way that loop works. I don't think we'll actually ever decrement it to 0. Yeah, I don't even think this, let me see. I don't even think this will get hit if we do that. Yeah, it'll never get hit. That's why we want 1. Okay, so now we need to try. I tell you what, this solution was hard fought. This solution actually, the solution that we solved with it this morning is different than the solution that we're using for part 2. Because the thing that I solved this part 1 with this morning came out of inspiration from Oblivious, his recommendation on how to solve it, when I got stuck on my first attempt. Then after stream, I was rubber ducking with somebody on my original solution and why it wasn't working, and I was comparing the results of what was working to what wasn't working, and we finally figured out that I had a couple bugs in my original solution that were pretty small, silly issues, which is why I have 2 solve part 1 methods. I have a solve part 1 again method, and I have a solve part 1 method. Because I'm very good at naming things. All right, let's see. We can get some. Maybe we'll get some evening dopamine. We got our morning dopamine. Maybe we'll get an evening shot of dopamine. Let's see. So this should fail, but it should. We expect it to fail because we want to get this number, which is, that number seems ginormous. And let's stick it in there. Let's see. Hell yeah. Let's go, man. I honestly can't even tell you guys, like, how fucking good it feels to solve that day, because that day has been the bane of my existence for the last 48 hours, last 36 hours. It really sucks I have to work a job, because if I don't, I like my job. But the problem is if I stream in the morning and then I can't figure the problem out, then I have to go to work, and the whole time I'm at work, all I'm thinking about is how to solve the problem from that morning. It becomes like a hyperfixation. So this feels good to get this monkey off my chest, or I guess off my back is the way you're supposed to say that. Get the monkey off my back. So this one I'm super proud of. So I'm gonna add a little something extra here. So fucking happy to be done with this motherfucker. But it's a good happy. It's not like I didn't have fun. It's like I struggled really hard and had a ton of fun, but now I want to forget that it ever existed. Hey, what's up, Inspire? How are you doing? Good to see you, man. We're having a little bit of an evening stream here to kind of finish out the day. We were trying to get caught up on some of our Advent of Code stuff, and looks like we just did it. So that's fan-freaking-tastic. Oops. Put a little bit of underscore here, make this a little bit more readable. What is that, 8 billion? Can you imagine having $8 billion in your bank account? I think if I saw that many zeros in my bank account, I might have a literal aneurysm and just die right then and there. 9 zeros. It's fucking crazy, man. It's fucking crazy. Why any human being ever needs... Don't get me started on billionaires. I'm gonna walk myself into some political misgivings. I mean, I'm all for people being wealthy, don't get me wrong. I'm all for people like being uber successful and getting to enjoy the fruits of their success. I just think we could probably also agree that there's probably a place that is like, okay, enough's enough, you know? Like, you won capitalism. I think there's a clip of that where I think it's Andrew Schultz or somebody. There's some comedian, I've seen a clip of him on the internet going, you basically won capitalism, okay? It's like, is that not enough for you? What else? I think that's it. I think we're good. Oh, we need to do the README. We need to update the README. Well, shit. Good night. It's late in Sweden. Yeah, man, get some sleep. It's kind of late for me here. I mean, it's not late, but for me, having gotten up so early, it's late. So I'm not gonna be here for much longer. I'm gonna get this sort of way, and then I'll probably chat with chat for a little bit, and then get ready for day 9. Appreciate you stopping in, man. I hope you had an awesome, what is it? An awesome Tuesday? I'm assuming it's Tuesday for you. See Alt Z. Fuck this guy. Alright, now we can merge this in. No, it's Wednesday? Oh, well, I hope you had a great Wednesday. You're time traveling, man. You're time traveling. It's kind of weird. Time zones are so weird. I've had people leave comments, they're like, hey, I'd love to watch your streams, but time zones. And it's so true. Time zones make scheduling so difficult. Ryan, I'll be happy when I see 6 zeros in my bank account. Me too, man. 6 zeros. Woo! That's when we know we'll make it. J Nick, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, 6 zeros in my bank account. That'll be the day. I think if I keep, all circumstantial things aside, right? Like, obviously anything can happen at any moment. But if everything remains the way it is today, I think probably 52 I can probably make work optional. I can have enough money in the bank account to enough money in the bank account that it throws off enough interest that I can have a semi-decent, lifestyle and not necessarily have to work. I don't think I'll ever actually retire, but I do think that I want to reach a place where, I want to have fuck you money. Have you guys ever seen that movie? What is that movie? Mark Wahlberg, and he's like a poker player. He's like a chronically addicted gambler, and John Goodman is in there as a particular character. And there's this scene where John Goodman's basically like, you take risk. He's basically giving Mark Wahlberg a lecture about like the way you take risk is from a position of fuck you, and that's that. I don't want to have all the money. I just want to have enough money that, like, if my boss asks me to do something and I don't want to do it, I can be like, fuck you. I'm not doing that. Which there are probably some people that would do that even today at their jobs. I'm just not me. Ryan, I'm about 3 years away from 6 zeros. Dude, congratulations, man. Cheers to you, dude. Cheers to you. That takes such hard work and diligence. That's killer, man. I'm still on the road. I'm I'm on the road. I have a long ways to go. Long ways to go. It'll go fast though. I mean, my oldest son is 9, and those 9 years went really fast. So when I say 52 and I'm 32 today, that's 20 years. 20 years sounds like a long time, but I know I'm gonna blink, and my kid will be out of high school. That'll be another 9 years, and then I'll have 11 years ago, and then I'll blink again, and you know what I mean? Like time goes so much faster than what you think it's gonna go. Hey, what's up, Arbor Studios? You came back. Um, all right. Let's do feature solve day 8, part 2. We in this bitch. Oh, I'm so pumped up, dude. I'm so pumped. Who knew you could get so excited about overcoming coding challenges, you know? So good. Can't you quit NeoVim with a Q? Yeah, there we go. So we'll do get status. It should all be synced up. GHPR create. My fuck you money is being able to buy the business that employs the manager I see chewing out an employee just so I can fire them. That would be pretty fucking baller. Have you seen that clip? There's a clip of I forget her name. She was like the CEO of Applebee's, and then I think Applebee's let her go, and then she went and worked for the company that runs IHOP or owns IHOP. And then her company, or at some point, her company, when she was running IHOP, realized that like IHOP and Applebee's have like 70 or 80% overlap in vendors. So then IHOP bought Applebee's. And so the part of the story I left out was while she was at Applebee's, she was like passed over to be CEO. So like she has IHOP buy Applebee's, and once they buy them, she calls the Applebee's CEO and is like, as you know, we've purchased your company and there's no need for 2 of us. So, you know, we don't need you anymore. And I thought that's like a stone cold killer move, you know? But yeah, that would be a pretty baller move to be like, you know what? I don't like the way you're treating your employee. I'm now your boss, and I have declared you redundant. So she bought it and sacked him. I heard about it, and the CEO wouldn't give her a job or something, so she bought it and sacked him. Yeah, exactly, Busy Slim. I heard about it. So it's funny because at my old company, one of our biggest customers was Applebee's. So if you've ever eaten at an Applebee's and you've had a cheese stick there, chances are it's the cheese stick that I helped develop for Applebee's. And so I knew that Applebee's and IHOP's had the same parent company or had the same, but I did not know that story. I learned that story from a TikTok clip I saw, and I was like, man, this lady right here don't fuck around, man. She don't play. But you know, some of the most driven and ambitious and successful people in the world are driven largely by spite. You know, you hear all those stories. Ryan, oh, so you're a food scientist? I was, yeah. I was a food scientist for 6 years. I worked for a company called Ajinomoto uh, Foods North America, AFNA. Um, they're actually the parent company. They're Japanese, obviously, but based on the name, you can tell the parent company is actually a Japanese company, and it was founded by the scientists that invented MSG. That was kind of their claim to fame, but they've since become this huge conglomerate. They own a lot of different businesses. But I worked for this North American company that did basically frozen food. We were a large manufacturer of frozen food, and I worked in our coated appetizer division and our pot sticker division. And so there's two facilities. There's one in Carthage, Missouri, and one in Joplin, Missouri. And I helped support both of those facilities and develop products for those facilities. It was a really cool experience. Got to learn a lot, got to do a lot, got to see a lot. Wow, Steven developed a cheese stick. Yeah, 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 it was fun. It was good times. You would maybe laugh from seeing my Discord bio. Might be related to Applebee's. Hey, I mean, Applebee's is legit. I mean, they got good food and they got good quality control, so it's consistent, right? There's something to be said about a consistent product. Yeah, food science. Yeah, so food science is interesting because it's very far, there's very little food science that is actual basic research. So a lot of food science labs look like kitchens. I mean, they might have scales, they might have dehydrators, they might have some lab equipment but for the most part, a lot of food science, when we say we're working in the lab or we're working on the bench, it's largely in a kitchen type of setting. So it's much more like an applied science, right? And the only time you really have to do really basic research is if you're trying to solve like a very like a very specific kind of foundational issue that you've encountered and you're sort of having to tease apart what the variables are. Um, yeah, but it was good. It was a really good experience. Oblivious. Hot take: kitchens are very much laboratories. Well, hey, I mean, in my past life, that's what we called it. We would, we would call, "Are you in the lab?" I'm in the lab. I'm on the bench. I'm working on the bench today. It was good times, man. It was good times. The hours was just crazy. Like right now, it's 10 o'clock at night, and when I was doing that job, I might right now be getting ready to head back to the manufacturing plant to do a test run, and I might not actually get to do my test run until 11 p.m. or midnight, and we might not wrap up till 1 a.m. And then I still have to do all my post trial data collection, analysis, sample evaluation stuff, and so I wouldn't be back home till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was just the hour. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like that every day, but the hours were just it required a lot of you. Compared to what I do now professionally, I made less money then, and I worked way harder. How often do you get to use a calorimeter? Not very often. Most of the time in industrial settings, if you need to get a very accurate calorie reading, you will send samples to a lab, to an actual lab, like a chemical type of lab, um, and they will do the calorimeter testing. See, because actually, what's interesting, most people probably don't know this, is if you're building a nutrition facts panel for your product, you largely build your product's nutrition facts panel on top of the ingredients that make up your product, right? So in the case of like a cheese stick, you would build the nutrition facts panel from the formula of all the ingredients that go into your cheese stick. So your coating, the cheese, you have to do some measurements and calculations to figure out how much oil the cheese stick picks up through the frying process. But so it's kind of a derived, those all those values on a lot of the nutrition facts panels are derived values. And get this, you can actually be off 20% plus or minus on any particular value. So any particular food you're eating can technically have a fudge amount up or down of about 20%. So you can kind of understand, you can kind of see how nutrition facts panels are sort of like, they're accurate, but they're not really precise, right? So it's just, kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, they go to the food exactly. Yeah, it's a much larger margin. I mean, and everyone in the industry does a really good job of trying to be as accurate as possible. I mean, people are making their best faith effort. But a really big reason for that 20%, this is another interesting fact, a really big reason for that margin of error is because packaging is very expensive. And in order to reduce the cost of packaging, most companies order a ton of it. They hold a ton of it on hand in inventory. And so if your nutrition facts panel had to be updated every time you had to swap an ingredient or change out some piece of information that forced a change in your values, um, is a big deal, right? Like you could be throwing away a lot of packaging. Um, so a lot of the times, what we would do whenever we had to reformulate something was the biggest thing was making sure that the individual ingredient listing did not change and that the order of ingredients didn't change. As long as those things didn't change, because that doesn't have there's no fudge room there. If your ingredients change at all, you have to get a new panel, a new packaging. But you have quite a bit of room in the numbers that you can play with on the facts panel. Um, yeah, it's a big deal. It's the nightmare scenario of managing the supply chain. I have so much respect for those folks who do the purchasing and manage inventory and schedule operations and productions and stuff. There's just so much logistics. You buy tons of it ahead of time. You hold a ton of inventory of the packaging. And then if you get too far out ahead, then you can't make the formulation change that you want to make until you run out of the existing packaging. If the panel does have to be updated, it's it's a whole thing. It's fun. It was definitely fun. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fun. It was challenging, right? It was problem solving. Um, but it was problem solving with actual physical things, right? Which meant it was expensive. There was a lot of stress. Like when I would do like for example, when I fuck something up in my code, there's really not much of a cost to it in most cases, right? It's like you can just fix it. You can just push new code, right? When I would run test runs, you're in charge of like 20 people who are making $15 to $20 an hour per hour that you're running your test. You might have ordered several $1,000s of ingredients, maybe tens of thousands of dollars of ingredients. You're paying like $800 an hour in overhead for the manufacturing facility. So you're managing all of this physical cost and overhead. And so if you waste time doing your testing, if you waste time doing your development, like it has real tangible physical, tangible both physical and physical, physical as in like physical things and physical as in like money, real world consequences that working with software just doesn't really have. In most cases, like I get it if you're working for NASA or if you're building like if you're writing firmware for pacemakers or something, right? That's kind of a different thing. But for most of us who are doing web development type things, it's just not the same. Working with bits is way lower stress than working with atoms. Steven, how are recipes sent across all locations? Is it a recipe book or is it digital? I don't know what all the companies use. Like I said, I've only worked at that one company. We used a software called shit. What was it called? It was made by a company in St. Louis, Missouri. Crap, Our Shoes. If you hadn't asked me, I wouldn't be blanking on it. Um, the product vision formula software. Uh, yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, Product Vision. This is what it was. I'm pretty sure the company that made it, they were in St. Louis. if I remember right. Yeah, Chesterfield, Missouri, which is up near St. Louis. Um, and everything was stored in this database, and this was it's basically like it was like a, a local, it was a desktop software that was installed on one machine, and you would have to RDP into that machine and then open Product Vision, and then you had a login, obviously, that you would use to access Product Vision. And everyone, the regulatory team, all the food scientists, all the product development people, the packaging folks, we all managed all the formulations, all the packaging formulas, everything in there was managed or all that stuff was managed in Product Vision. And then from the logistics side, we had JD Edwards. We had like an Oracle system that was our ERP system, and those folks would actually build like bill of materials and cost structures, and all of kind of the less product development side of things, more on the business and logistics side of things, would all be managed in a separate system. And there was some job or I'm guessing was probably, if I had to guess, it was probably some sort of like batch API job that ran every so often that would sync the Product Vision information to the JD Edwards system so that those things would stay in sync. And of course there was like a whole change management system to make sure people couldn't just go in and make willy-nilly changes to things. Chesterfield, Missouri. I think that's near St. Louis. Yeah, it's a suburb there. That's pretty cool. I'm surprised Hexagon hasn't bought them out yet. Hexagon owns almost every industrial software in existence. I've never heard of a Hexagon before. But yeah, I was really surprised that they were based so close to us. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of interesting that they haven't been gobbled up by some larger entity. It wasn't the most user-friendly software, I'll tell you. Like we had an ERP that would hold all the formulation recipes fourth shift. Yeah, I had heard from people that had worked at other food companies and come to Ajinomoto, who told me that like the way we did it wasn't necessarily the best way. I didn't have anything to compare it to, but yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't like it definitely wasn't the most user friendly or have the best user experience, but once you learned how to use it, it was a database. I mean, it was essentially a relational database. You have a list of ingredients, and those ingredients can be tied to a formula, and that formula can, the formula can have properties, and each of the ingredients can have property. It was very, very much, now looking back at that point in time in my life, I had no idea how any of it worked, or didn't even have the languages to describe the technical side of it. But now looking back at it, I know now a little bit. I can see a little bit more of probably how it was architected and how it was actually working under the hood, which is kind of interesting to think back. That seems like a different lifetime honestly, to tell you guys. Like, that would have been, I mean, that was the last time I worked there was 2020, so it's almost half a decade ago now, like this just seems like forever ago. Hexagon has 865 individual software packages that cover every industry in existence. That is absolutely insane. Can you imagine what their software practice must need to look like to manage that many different pieces of software? That's unbelievable. Hexagon measures the world and shapes its futures. I had no idea this existed. I wonder if I've used their software and didn't even know I was using their software before. Ooh, planting assistant? That sounds interesting. Wonder if they have any like let's see, let's try to search for like food or formula. Oh, that surprises me. They don't have anything in there. Maybe that's not really their sector. I hope you guys enjoyed that trip down memory lane. Busy Slim. I wrote some handheld scanner software for a food manufacturing site. Handled most areas of interactivity with a live ERP, from goods into client order fulfillment. Well, that sounds like a fun project. I think what's interesting about the food manufacturing setting, or really any manufacturing setting, I think what's interesting about that is that's still one of the places in the world where you don't want to be reliant on a cloud, right? It's interesting because you really do need to sort of have like an on-prem solution when you're dealing with manufacturing. It can be backed by a cloud, right? But if you're doing like real-time processing of data and that's facilitating your process, it has to all kind of be there local, right? Like you can't depend on some external infrastructure that can go down or lose connection. And the rest of the world's just not like that, right? Most places in the world now, or most domains, right, that software lives now, it's cloud-based. Like even healthcare, right? Even most healthcare is not on-prem software, which is kind of weird. Or I guess it's on-prem in the sense that like they probably host it themselves, but it's probably hosted in the cloud, if I had to bet. There's 73 food and beverage softwares in their offerings. You've got to filter by industry. Oh, shows how much effort I put into that, huh? Filter by industry. Oh wow, yeah, 73. Although they do need a dark mode for their website. Somebody get on that. Here, I'll get on that. How about that? Should I raise a concern? Let's see. Is not having dark mode considered behavior that feels unsafe or unethical? Click here. Should we just call him directly? Should we just hotline him? Hey, did you guys know your website doesn't have a dark mode? So you have part Smart Plant, Smart Sketch, PAS. What's PAS stand for? Platform as a Service? What's PAS stand for? PAS Automation Integrity. Employee Configuration Management for Asset System Performance and Improvement. I don't even know what some of this software is. This just goes to show that there's a lot of software out in the world, right? Like so much of the conversation around software is dominated by AI and big tech companies and stuff, but there's all these companies out there in the world that are serving, they're solving very specific problems and they're helping niche audiences. And wherever there's opportunity, wherever there's software being built, there's opportunity for engineers to work, and solve problems, which I think is a good thing. Michael, thanks for subbing. Appreciate it. I'm the reason their cam softwares have dark mode. I called every day for a month before they added it. No, Ryan, you were that guy, huh? Okay, I'll just tell you, I don't know, Ryan, like your experience, but like as somebody who sits on the product side of a software company, right? There's definitely days where we reach support and we see a guy that's complaining about something and asking for us to implement it. And so you happen to be that guy to them. But I love that. Hey, you know what you wanted, and you were persistent, and you made it happen. So I applaud you. Although I would agree that like dark mode kind of feels like table stakes nowadays in any piece of software or website, especially if it's a website. Like if you built something on the web, there's really not a good excuse not to have a dark mode. It's so easy to do now. Ryan, I am that guy. I also knew 3 of the engineers who worked on their cam software personally. I call. Oh, that's hilarious, man. That's so funny. They probably like whenever the phone would ring, the 3 of them were probably like, "It's Ryan again." They had like a they probably had like a whiteboard in the office with like a tally, like calls from Ryan. That's too fucking funny, man. Uh, that's good shit. All right, well, I have to be back here in this chair in 6 hours to do day 9 of Advent of Code. So I think I'm gonna kind of wrap it up. I accomplished what I set out to accomplish, which was get back on pace by solving part 2, day 8, which we accomplished. And I had a lot of fun talking with you all, spending an hour of my evening shooting the shit. I appreciate you guys keeping me company. I'll be back. Yeah, like I said, I'll be back at 4:15 tomorrow morning to do day 9. Yes, we will have a good rest, Busy Slim. I appreciate that. If you are new here, I'll just do kind of my normal customary wrap up. If you're new here and you enjoyed this hour, rough hour of me kind of doing some coding and doing some yapping, my normal schedule for streaming is 4:15 a.m. to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. I stick to that pretty regularly. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that, man. You do too. And then if you want to hang out with me or anybody from my chat outside of stream, the best place to find us is Discord. And I'll drop that link in the chat as well if you're interested. No pressure, no pressure. You don't got to come to the Discord, but if you want to come hang out, you're more than welcome. I would just invite you, if you see me live again, stop in, say hi. It's always nice to see familiar faces. I feel like we have a pretty good community going here on my channel, especially in my streams. A lot of smart, intelligent, kind, funny, easygoing folks. So if that's the vibes you're into, come hang out. Otherwise, I'm gonna head to bed, and I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's bedtime, maybe it's morning time. I'm not sure. Time zones make it weird. So either way, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope to see you guys maybe either in a live stream or perhaps in the comments of a short or video. All right, guys. Bye, chat. See you guys. Have a good evening. Hey, what's up, Sogo? Have a good evening, Sogo. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Bye, Oblivious. Hey, thanks again, Oblivious, for all of your encouragement this morning. Really appreciate it. I think I probably would have crashed out and given up on part 1 if I hadn't been able to talk to somebody about it, so I very much appreciate it. All right, bye, chat. Bye, guys. Bye. See you tomorrow.